For 30 years, the small neighborhood bakery on the corner of Maple Street was the beating heart of the family. Clara, together with her elderly mother, Martha, spent every single morning waking up at 4 a.m. to bake fresh bread. The father had passed away years ago, leaving the bakery and the small, historic plot of land it sat on to Martha. The older brother, Victor, was cut from a different cloth. He was an ambitious, ruthless real estate developer who drove a flashy sports car and looked down on the family business with pure disgust. "You're wasting your lives in this filthy kitchen, Clara," he would sneer during his rare visits. "This land is a gold mine. If we tear down this decrepit bakery and build a luxury apartment complex, we could clear millions. Sell it to me." But Martha always shook her head. "No, Victor. This bakery is your father's legacy. It is not for sale." Victor's resentment grew in silence. He didn't see a family heritage. He saw a barrier to his multi-million-dollar empire. And when Martha's health suddenly took a devastating turn, Victor saw his perfect window of opportunity. In the winter of Clara's 35th year, Martha suffered a massive stroke that left her bedridden and frail in a crowded state hospital. The medical bills began to pile up rapidly, and Clara was forced to run the bakery entirely alone, drowning in exhaustion. One rainy evening, Victor arrived at the hospital room. He didn't bring flowers. Instead, he brought a thick stack of legal documents and his private corporate notary. "Clara, look at you. You're a wreck," Victor said, his voice dripping with fake warmth. "I can transfer Mom to a premium private clinic tomorrow and cover all her expenses. I just need her to sign these temporary medical guardianship papers so I can handle the logistics." Blinded by sleep deprivation and desperate grief, Clara believed him. She watched as Victor guided Martha's trembling hand across the signature lines. The elderly woman couldn't read the text. She trusted her firstborn son. The illusion shattered exactly 48 hours later. Clara arrived at the bakery at 4 a.m., only to find the metal shutters chained shut with a massive sign: "Property acquired by Victor Development Corporation, demolition imminent." Before she could process the shock, Victor's luxury SUV pulled up. He stepped out, flanked by 2 private security guards. "Victor, why is the bakery locked?" Clara screamed. "It's not a bakery anymore, Clara," Victor replied coldly. "Those papers Mom signed weren't guardianship forms. It was an absolute deed transfer. She sold the property to my corporation for a nominal fee of $1. You conned her on her deathbed. We have nowhere to go." Clara wept. "You have exactly 1 hour to grab your clothes," Victor said, waving his guards forward. "The bulldozers arrive at noon. As for Mum, the state hospital can keep her. You chose to be a baker, Clara. I chose to be a king. Get off my property." With nothing but a single suitcase and her mother's old recipe book, Clara walked away into the freezing winter rain. She was forced to move her frail mother into a cheap public care facility, taking a low-wage job washing dishes just to keep them alive. For 3 years, Victor thrived on his betrayal. He demolished the bakery and erected the Grand Horizon, a glittering luxury apartment complex, pocketing millions from wealthy investors. He became a fixture in luxury magazines, openly mocking the sentimental fools who let emotions get in the way of capitalism. But an empire built on a mother's tears is structurally hollow. Driven by pure greed, Victor cut severe corners during construction. He bribed local inspectors, used substandard concrete mix, and ignored critical engineering warnings about unstable soil conditions. He thought his money could bury the truth forever. Meanwhile, Clara refused to let the family legacy die. In the tiny kitchen of her basement apartment, using her mother's handwritten recipes, she began baking artisanal sourdough bread to sell from a small wooden cart. The old neighborhood regulars rallied around them. The bread was a sensation. Within 2 years, a wealthy culinary investor funded a brand new, state-of-the-art organic bakery chain called Martha's Legacy. The business grew exponentially, opening 5 highly successful locations. Clara was finally able to move her mother into a beautiful private medical estate, where Martha's health began to miraculously improve. And then, the scales of karma tipped with terrifying velocity. It happened at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. A sudden shifting in the city's water table put pressure on the substandard foundation of the Grand Horizon. Within minutes, the main support pillars cracked like glass, causing a catastrophic partial structural collapse. While emergency evacuations prevented casualties, the scandal was apocalyptic. The city immediately launched a forensic engineering investigation, uncovering a massive web of corporate fraud, bribery, and illegal tax evasion within Victor's firm. The Federal Banking Commission moved with unyielding fury. Every single one of Victor's assets was frozen overnight. His bank accounts, luxury cars, and private residence were seized to pay for the lawsuits. His investors abandoned him, his lawyers quit, and his corporate empire dissolved into absolute dust in less than a month. Victor was sentenced to a grim stint in a state correctional facility, his reputation permanently destroyed. 2 years after his fall, on a freezing, stormy winter evening, Clara was standing inside the flagship location of Martha's Legacy. The bakery was warm, filled with the rich scent of fresh bread. Martha, now navigating life in a comfortable wheelchair, was sitting near the oven, laughing with the staff. Suddenly, the glass bell chimes. A cold, violent gust of wind blew into the shop. A frail, ghostly figure shuffled inside, soaked to the bone in a tattered, dirt-stained coat. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollowed out by poverty. It was Victor. He had been released from prison with absolute zero to his name, reduced to a homeless beggar on the very streets he once claimed to own. He looked at the thriving bakery and fell directly to his knees in front of the counter. "Clara." "Mom," Victor sobbed, clutching his shivering arms. "Please. I haven't eaten in 3 days. I'm starving. Please, just give me a piece of bread. We're family." Martha looked down at the son who had left her to die in a public ward. Tears filled her eyes, but she looked at Clara, leaving the final verdict in her daughter's hands. Clara walked out from behind the counter, her uniform spotless and bright. She looked down at Victor shivering at her feet, feeling only the cold reality of absolute justice. She reached into a basket, pulled out a single day-old loaf of hard, dry bread, and placed it coldly into his trembling hands. "You told us 3 years ago that family was a weakness, Victor," Clara said, her voice completely calm against the roaring storm outside. "You told us you chose to be a king. This bread is charity for a beggar, not a welcome home for a brother. You took our father's home and threw us into the rain. Now, the universe has given you exactly what you built." Victor clutched the hard loaf, weeping hysterically. "Clara, please, let me stay in the kitchen. Let me work for you." "The kitchen requires clean hands, Victor. Clara whispered, turning her back to him. "And yours are covered in betrayal." She nodded to the evening security guard, who firmly led Victor out of the warm sanctuary of Martha's legacy. Through the window, Martha and Clara watched as Victor shuffled back into the dark, freezing storm, clutching a dry piece of bread, completely alone. Karma had finally balanced the ledger,